A diagnosis like dementia can shake the foundation of everything we thought we knew about our health, our identity, our future. But what if there's more to the story than decline? What if, even after the diagnosis, there is still room for growth, connection, and healing? Welcome to the Aging Well podcast, where we explore the science, stories, and strategies behind living a longer, healthier, and more purposeful life. I am your host, Dr. Jeff Armstrong, an exercise physiologist with a passion for making science simple and life better as we age. My guest today is Dr. Robb Kelly, a world-renowned expert in recovery and behavioral transformation, who also works with individuals diagnosed with dementia to restore hope and improve quality of life through neuroscience, trauma resolution, and somatic tools. With decades of experience in psychology, behavioral science, and addiction recovery, Dr. Kelly is uniquely positioned to help people, especially older adults, reconnect with their brains, their bodies, and their stories. This conversation goes far beyond symptom management. It's about honoring the whole person, exploring what is still possible, and finding purpose even in uncertain territory. It's a conversation that might just change the way you think about dementia and help you or someone you love take the next step toward aging well. The Aging Well podcast encourages informed decision-making and always consult your physician and scientific literature when making decisions about your health. Dr. Robb, welcome to the Aging Well podcast. You were a guest on my other podcast, the We Have a Spiritual Problem podcast, and I'll link the guests, the listeners and the viewers to that particular episode so they can get a little bit more of your backstory from that. So we can just kind of dive into the topic that we want to talk about today. And so you've spent much of your career working with trauma, addiction, and brain rewiring. In fact, we know you as the Gordon Ramsay of addiction therapy. So what led you to begin working with dementia patients?
Well, we have this software. It's called 9-dimensional subliminal messaging software. And basically what it is, it's you wear headphones and a blackout mask and you lie down in a chair, take it nice and easy. And the subliminal messages you can't hear. And then the rest is like you think you are following the voice and the music, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely awesome. But there's a lot more going on in the background. And the stuff going on in the background, what we found is that the different levels and vibration will change in the body. Which is absolutely awesome because we found out that we can not only treat addiction, but we can also treat anxiety, depression, PTSD. So we've actually been as bold to say that we can cure any kind of addiction, and we can arrest the alcoholism. So that's what we had to start with, which we were absolutely over the moon, as you can imagine, with that. And then I don't know why, but, one day I'm like, I wonder what else this would do, if we really kind of looked into it. And that's what we did. We started looking at the brain waves. We started looking at different kinds of the energy levels and the sound experience, which is layers of, channels and 9-dimensional. It immerses you into this state of being able to change the brainwave tones. And it's kind of isochronic way where you don't know it's happening. So the 432 hertz, which is a harmonic tuning of the brain, we found that it's this is miraculous. We got to find something else. So one day I'm in my restaurant next door, and we got talking to a lady there, and then she went on to tell us that she has dementia, onset dementia, and I'm like, well, we have this stuff, and she's, well, I want to come in and try it. So I've tried everywhere else, spent hundreds of thousands everywhere else, So we had her tested at a local clinic, which is well-respected clinic. We brought her in and we did 3 months solid every second of this stuff. And then we had her tested again independently. And they found there was a 13% increase in short-term memory. So we're like, what? And then we took a couple more on because we advertised it and the same thing happened. So we're in early research stages. And we are talking to Robert Kennedy right now through, Gary Brecker, who's a good friend of mine. So we're going to see what happens, but we're excited that we can do that. Now, as well as that, I tried it myself. So I go on it regularly. We have medical grade red light therapy, photomodulation, a helmet and a waistband that we use. And my memory's coming back. I can remember, like 10 years ago, but what I did 3 days ago, I was like, what did I do? That's come back, which is amazing. So we're really excited about this. We're always trying to push boundaries. We're always like, well, you can't do this, says who? You can't cure addiction, says who? And we're like, yeah, we can. The brain's so fascinating. And what we found as well with our trials and research is that brain cells don't die. You heard that alcohol kills brain cells. That's not true. Short-term memory dementia kills it. That's not true. We found it to the contrary, that they go into a grey area or a grey state, but they can be revived with the stuff that we're using. So yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, so a lot of people think that dementia is purely degenerative disease, but from your perspective, what's missing in that narrative then?
Well, what we think missing is with the binaural beats and stuff like that we use, the brains of, the harmonic differences between the vibration and the frequency, is it revives the what was called grey area or dead cells to other people, that we can actually reconnect them, is what we find. I have a great video that I show when I'm explaining just in general how we can rechange and repattern brains and new neural pathways instead of old neural pathways. It's a great, fascinating video of actually a camera in somebody's head. So we think that's what it is, short-term memory. I mean, Alzheimer's is diabetes free. America is the only place that refuses to call it diabetes free, but it's a lot to do with the sugar and stuff like that, which kills us on a daily basis. And you will be not you, I'm sure you know, but the people watching, listening, you'll be aghast of how much sugar you're consuming on a daily basis, especially when we're doing the Diet Cokes and, we're doing the McDonald's this and the Starbucks this. It's like horrific. You get the Starbucks, Kappa, mocha, whatever, and then you start to look at the ingredients in that, which Starbucks don't really want you to know. There's about 20 spoonfuls of sugar in that concoction of coffee that you're consuming every day. So no wonder it's a bit of a pick-me-up. You see, people think that coffee is a stimulant. Coffee is not a stimulant. It does block out the tide cells in the brain, so you're more awake-ish. But it's not a stimulant. So what makes us even need our coffee in the morning? It's all the sugar that's going into that. And that's how Starbucks makes a living, unfortunately.
And most of our food industry is like that. With you deal with addiction, and when we think of addiction, we're always thinking alcohol and drugs, but we're a nation that is addicted to the foods that we are eating, particularly sugars and even some of the fats, and just the chemicals and the things that they put in all our food is just ridiculous.
It is. I mean, we did an experiment in a local supermarket on a TV show. And it was amazing. So we went into the show with cameras blazing, and we walked up to the health part of the supermarket. First of all, if your supermarket or store has a health section, what the hell's the rest of the food in there? That's all I'm saying about that. But we went in, we took a very, very well-known brand of health bar, which was, best-selling. And on the packet, when you could see it, and the things had 9 grams of protein, 0 fat. What are you going to think? That's awesome for my family. I'm going to buy a bunch of those and I'm going to eat. Then we spun the package round. The first ingredient was canola oil. The second ingredient was sunflower oil. So let me tell you a little story about the oils that are killing us. There's only 4 things we should be eating: coconut, olive, and avocado, and a good grass-fed butter or ghee. They're the only 4 oils we should be using. So the sunflower oils and all that rancid oils that we eat goes back into the day when Rockefeller, of all people, his companies supplied all the oil to the locomotive industries. So there was, they made a great living off that. And, as the cars came in and the trains went out, less and less oil was needed, because not only you don't need gallons now, you just need a little bit in the car to make it run. So he would come up with a genius idea. And he created a health board around him, and he convinced the public that these oils were very good to cook in. They were healthy. I mean, you look at, sunflower oil. I mean, God, it sounds amazing. And then you look at the ingredients, and that's what's part of what's killing us. Like I said, coconut, olive oil, avocado, and a good grass-fed butter or ghee is all that's needed. The rest are not needed. We can't methylate the sunflower oils. So in the body as a whole, when we eat something, it's never used in the source that we eat it. It has to be methylated into the source that the human body can use. With the rancid oils and the food industry and the GMO and the plastic food and all we have, the food that we eat is not being methylated. And everyone's different, by the way, but there's most foods we can't methylate. If we can't methylate into the source that we need, there becomes a deficiency. The deficiency causes the cancer, and people are astounded when we tell them that. We go, yeah, we have research to back that up. We say, you've got to be staying away from this stuff. All kinds of sugars are described in different kinds. Aspartame, really, it's more addictive than cocaine, and they've got all these words tied up. So you don't really know what you're eating. But, if you just want to eat a little bit healthier, just turn the package around. And the crazy thing is, Jeff, there's always an alternative on the same shelf somewhere, probably by a brand you've never heard of. But it's always best to look at what are we eating? Popcorn. Oh my God, it's just, it's nice and healthy, but skinny. I'll make sure I don't laugh with it. Skinny popcorn. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Then we're not talking about that. It's like Diet Coke. Probably doing more damage than the regular Coke, with all the crazy stuff that's in it. McDonald's fries. Why is there only 4 ingredients in England at McDonald's with the fries, and there's like 22 ingredients in America with the fries? What? It doesn't make sense as a human being, but it makes sense as a business that this fries over here can last about a year without even having nothing on it. You put a McDonald's hamburger or beef burger or cheeseburger out into the sun outside, not one insect, ant, or anything will touch that. They won't do it. And you've seen the experience while they leave it in the cupboard, for like a year, and you take it out. There's nothing wrong with them. Not even the bread has molded. So yeah, we're not very good when it comes to eating in this country. And he always likes to preface that with, I'm American, guys. I might sound different, but I came over here 20 years ago and I became a full citizen. I'm very proud of that. So when I say America, I'm not saying as an English guy, look at America. No, I'm saying as an American that we need to do better. We really do.
If you're enjoying the Aging Well podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, or follow on your favorite platform so you will never miss an episode. And if you find our conversations helpful, please share the podcast with a friend, because aging is something we're all doing, and we're better at doing it together. And support our guests in this podcast financially by visiting the affiliate links in the episode description below, and use the links or codes provided for discounts on products we have vetted and feel comfortable recommending to our valued viewers and listeners. Thank you, and now back to the podcast. Yeah, it always blows me away that, we talk about, the healthiest diets, like the Mediterranean diet, the Nordic diet, all these diets. Why is the American diet not at the top of the list? Instead, we call it the Standard American Diet, which the acronym is SAD, which is a very appropriate acronym for the diet. Now, we are the breadbasket of the world, apparently, and yet we have the worst food, and we're just corrupting the food intakes of the rest of the world. And we've gotten off topic a little bit here. So let's kind of get back to neuroplasticity a little bit in dementia. I mean, obviously, we can really go off on what is causing many of these problems, but since the problems are here, we need to work on kind of helping to fix them and to help people that are diagnosed with dementia. And so you talk a lot about neuroplasticity and rewiring of the brain. And this is possible even with a diagnosis like dementia?
Early onset, yeah. We've only tested early onset. We need, our medical doctor comes in. We need support from that if we go any deeper. So what we've done is, early onset or just been diagnosed, let's see what we can do. And we've had great response and the full turnaround, like I said, for short-term memory. But we have to trial that over at least 12 months. We've only been doing it 4 months right now, 5 months. So we need to fully do the full research on this properly. We're going to start that next month before we can present and go, hey, I think we're onto something here. But you can hear, if you do your Google searches, that there's thousands of people out there that agree with me, doctors, medical doctors, that are going, hey, this, dementia can be reversed. So they're a bit ahead of us, I think. But yeah, if we hear of anything that's happened, we go research it ourselves, because there's so much lies and stuff on the internet, you don't know what to believe. So we never quote anybody. Well, this research was, no, we do our own. so that we're fully responsible for it. Sometimes it's a good thing and sometimes it's a bad thing of sticking yourself out there. But you know me, Jeff, that's what I do for a living. I'm the loudmouth. I'm the guy that curses if you don't do as you're told in the office. I'm the aggressive guy that just wants to live. I don't care about your feelings. I'm not here to make you feel all fluffy and warm. That's what therapists are for. I'm here to tell you how you feel while we get you well, because your brain is fighting against you and wants to kill you and make you look like an accident. That's for sure. So we really need to, go in more depth with this, as well as the other stuff that we've done. But what we're excited about is because we've had so much success with all the other psych problems, the depression, anxiety, addiction, is we're excited that this will follow suit. So there's nowhere in the world that do what we do. We have a 98% success rate. Now, first, a couple of things around that. First of all, you have to pass an assessment. Secondly, the family needs to come on board as well, because when the family comes on board, the illness or let's say alcohol or dinner, whatever it is, goes up by 42% alone. And we're the only company that offer you a money back guarantee if you relapse or get depressed or anything like that, whilst following our continued program, of course. We like to think of ourselves as game changers, because I have that all or nothing mentality, and most people who have psych problems do. Once we clear that stuff up, it's either we're going to do it or we're not. Either pregnant or you're not, and there's no middle ground. It's like, I'm going to try, And people say, oh, God, I mean, you can't just do anything with a mentality. Why open a restaurant next door with no experience whatsoever in restaurants? No, nobody had. Me and my sister with partners, we started it. It's 18 months in and it's thriving. We truly believe that you can do whatever you want to do, but we keep waiting. We keep waiting for this. Next week I'm going to do this. It's like, stop waiting, guys. How much time? I'm 64 now. So if we go by the average age, let's say it's 75, 64 now, 70, I've got 11 more birthdays left. That's all I have. And when you put it into that context, you realize that why are you waiting for what permission are you waiting for? Get up, pull away a little bit from medical doctors and definitely pharmaceutical and look at what the alternative is. Because once you start taking medication, and again, psych, if you have heart problems, not talking to you, psych, you'll be amazed how the body and brain can heal itself when we're taking the natural source that's out there available to us.
And I would argue as a physiologist that the physiology can heal itself as well.
Yeah, 100%. We've traced everything, like I say, and over the interview podcast, it has been trial and research. We never say, well, we think we can. No, let's trial research it. We spent over $1 million in the last 10 years researching and trialing stuff that we want to take to the government and higher places and us. Because, like I say, we're game changers. So yeah, we're a true believer in that. There was I think it might have been a Chinese knee surgeon, and you can Google this, guys. This is what got me. A couple of things got me going on. Wow. And this was one of them. He was a knee surgeon, and he brought like 6 patients in, and they told him that they're going to have a free knee operation. They all had bad knees, or at least one bad knee, and that 2 of them would be kind of the placebo effect. And they was like, yeah, we'd love to do it. And they took them in. What they didn't tell the patients were they were going to cut the knee in the placebo guys, but not do anything, just stitch it back up again. The 4 guys that had the knee surgery should have been normal, but 2 of them weren't, because they might have thought they might have got the placebo. And the 2 guys that had the placebo, they didn't do anything, walked fine for the rest of their lives.
Wow.
Explain that to me. It's all here. We're not using the brain and the mind and the power that we have like we should. We don't give the body time to heal. It's like we stuff it with false medication, harmful medication. I mean, if you go to a doctor and he gives you a pill, look at what that covers. It covers about 20 elements, where it's good for depression and psych and schizophrenia. And what the hell am I taking? The amount of times that people come here and they go, Dr. Robb, I'm so depressed. Oh, are you? Oh, God, I'm so. How long have you been depressed? Oh, a good 3 years. I just can't. Okay, do you take medication? Yeah, the doctor's got me on blah, blah, blah. When do you think it's going to kick in? Because it's been 3 years now. 3 years you've been taking it and you're still depressed. So once we start putting foreign stuff into our body, pharmaceuticals that we don't know what the side report is, or the health negative benefits across that, then we don't stand a chance of getting well. And again, I'm talking about heart problems. Take your medication, get well. I'm talking about, has anybody ever, listen carefully, guys, has anybody ever taken a pill from the doctor? It's cured your ailment. and you never have to take the pill again. Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, it's the second time I've heard that on this podcast. That, medicine really doesn't cure anything. It just essentially puts a Band-Aid on the symptoms.
I will not take a headache. It drives my wife crazy. She's American, Texas. I'm getting a headache. Hey, I've got some blah, blah for you. It's like, no, I'm not going to take it. Why? Well, it's masking up why I have the headache. I need to know why I have the headache, not taking something to mask it because it might get worse and I don't feel it. So there are no pain receptors in the brain. So how do we get headache if there's no pain receptors in the brain? Well, the brain is covered by what's called like a skin called a dora. When it expands and decreases, that's where the pain comes. That's full of pain receptors. So when I get a headache, something's happened. It's either smaller or bigger than it should, and the pain is caused there. I want to know why. I don't want to take something to cover it up. Why am I having headaches? And there's always something like lack of water, lack of this vitamin, stuff like that. It always cures it, always. But you've got to be careful of the vitamins you take. Most vitamins are filled with cyanide. You've got to go for, the good stuff. You've got to turn the bottle around and look. You've got to go for the natural stuff, the organic stuff, and you'll see a difference in your health.
And Whole Foods is probably even a better start there.
Whole Foods is good, but it's not as good as you think it is. That was our late. We wasn't going to say that. We're studying that right now. Yeah, we're studying all these health people. Health Foods is amazing. And there's a couple of items that's turned out to be really bad for you. So as a whole, yeah. But not a lot of people can afford to go to Whole Foods for the shopping. I mean, you're talking about $100 at Walmart and $300 but you just have to be sensible. That's all you need. One day, don't have that packaged freezer stuff that you've been having all week. Take a break, have some salads, make sure it's all organic. I used to hate that word, organic, but it's so true. Like $2 more for organic, your body will thank you. But be careful again about organic. There's different levels of organic. One needs this much, one needs this much of soil on top of it. So you're surrounded with these things that are killing us, and it's hard to take the stuff that doesn't. You've got to really search for it.
Yeah. So let's get back to cognitive decline. How does unresolved trauma play into cognitive decline later in life?
Well, it's the gateway drug, Now, I was on with somebody yesterday. I was presenting to six or 700 medical students, and that question came up. And the decline is slow but sure, that's for sure. Ask me the question again. Something just came in that somebody texted me over there. I don't need to do with that. Just ask me the question again. I'm sorry.
So when we look at kind of unresolved trauma, what role does that play in cognitive decline?
I'm so sorry, Jeff. Yeah, that's sorry. Okay. Go away with that. I'm not carrying. Yeah,
that's okay. We're talking cognitive decline. It's perfectly appropriate to forget what I said.
Wasn't it brilliant? Yeah. So it's hard to say when it first starts, but it's basically, if we look at the brain, we look at the recall memory, we look at the anterior cingulate cortex, we look at the hypothalamus, we look at the amygdala. You can't set the ventromedial prefrontal cortex out of that, of course, and the hippocampus. They all play a role. And what happens under certain circumstances with a cognitive decline is then parts of the brain are not getting what they need to get. So the brain is very demanding on our body. There's a little tiny cell at the back of the tongue. Can't remember the name right now. But when it wants sugar, it demands sugar from the body, and it will strip it from everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So we've got to make sure that we are eating. Again, it comes back to the eating stuff. When a part of the brain becomes overactive or underactive, it's like let's talk about the hippocampus. So the hippocampus, it starts with chronic anxiety. So then we go back to childhood trauma, and we look at what is childhood trauma. So for a normal person, childhood trauma could be a divorce, could be, a car accident or something. But with most people with addiction problems, we're more sensitive to it. So a trauma that thought in the past was really terrible, like a car crash, we have to go deeper than that. And what we found is with certain people, the brains with depression and stuff like that in the family become very sensitive. So the trauma could be, well, here's one of my traumas. Me and my brother stood on the kitchen table, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. His mum walks in and she said to both of us, "Get down off that table. Get down before your dad gets in." That's what she said. And I heard, well, he jumps down, my brother, I heard something different, off that table is what so when we look at the difference between a normal brain and brain coming from traumatic backgrounds, so a measurement and learned behavior can be passed down when it comes to depression, for instance. So then what we do is we go forward, that childhood trauma is always there. So we retrain the brain around that childhood trauma. So for instance, if I'm a young girl growing up in a house where the father's alcoholic and comes home 2 or 3 times a week and gets into a fist fight with mom, and then the next day they get up and he's sober. I love you. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, but no, it's okay. She believes that's love. She believes violence equals love and vice versa. So when she goes into a teen, she will attract the same guy that ends up beating her or becoming some kind of addict or alcoholic. I mean, they already are, but she will attract that because the behavior is the same. So dementia, again, passed down, childhood trauma passed down, any kind of psych problem passed down. Is what we found. So certain parts of the brain, like love, for instance, affection, someone who's been through the child with the father, they don't know not to seek that. So when they don't seek that or deserve that adoration or anything from the parents, caregivers, or friends, any kind of validation, then that part of the brain becomes underactive, and that can cause all kinds of problems. So we always have to look in most illnesses with psych, if not all, we always have to go back and find out what's going on. Now, the bad thing about that is it's stored in the subconscious brain. It's not stored in the conscious. So the 24 hours at a time you hear around AA is not an AA thing. 24 hours at a time means the brain, certain parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. So if 300 neural pathways die every day, what are we replacing them with? And it has to be totally new behavior. Otherwise, the basal ganglia is our repetition, strength, and confirms. Like a pilot needs 10,000 hours in the air before it becomes a working part of the mind. With childhood trauma, it only has to go around a couple of times before it becomes a working part of the mind. And when I say the working part of the mind, what that means, it's a knee-jerk reaction to self-sabotage. So like when you go to the doctor and he taps you on the knee, you can't stop that. It's a knee-jerk reaction. It's the same thing with this thought patterns. It becomes that you're going to live in self-sabotage most of your life because, so we have to use certain tools like the 9D, the brain spotting, the modulation units and stuff like that, NLP, lots of subliminal messaging to pull that subconscious trauma out. And once we do that work, the patient is free and free thinking and can recover from those things they have in life.
So what are some of the most common emotional patterns or limiting beliefs that you see in clients with dementia after they receive a diagnosis?
Well, all of them are scared. They're absolutely terrified. When we're terrified, we're in fear. We don't work well within fear. Okay, we just don't work well. Human beings are not meant to be in fear 24 hours a day, but the way the world is today, most people are. So they operate on this fear. While we're in fear, you cannot heal because you fight or flight all the time. And all your energy is spent on, the worrying. Now there's depression. Now you're panicking. And every sudden one day goes into another and you don't know what to do. And no wonder the brain declines because we're telling it to. So we go back to the mind and the brain again. So the idea is to get the patient out of panic mode, out of fear, and with subliminal messaging, which basically means I'm going to plant certain words or phrases in your head without you knowing, there becomes a light at the end of the tunnel. While you're in that stage, if I told you you had, I don't know, psych illness without sounding horrible, I don't know, ear infection. If I told you that you had this, or you went to this pool, you're swimming around, it was dirty, you're going to get an ear infection, you'll get an ear infection. Because the more I tell you that, the more you're going to believe that. So the brain and the mind over matter, mind is where it happens. It controls the brain, the matter, then that will happen. And it's crazy how we've seen that over the years happen. And it's like, if you're given like, how come the body can go into the doctors feeling great and you get a diagnosis that's not good and you come out feeling terrible? The body's still the same. The mind's still the same. When you walked in, 10 minutes later, you walk out feeling terrible. It's because we've heard bad news and we react to that bad news by jumping straight into fear. So we don't look at anything pertaining to psych rationally today. That's also cause for decline. While we're in fight or flight, the body cannot heal. While we're in fight or flight, the body cannot get better because it refuses to hear anything else apart from the bad news. So I spoke at a meeting several years ago. It was 1,000 people in California. 999 said I was fantastic, and one person said I was terrible. Have a guess who I concentrated on for the next 3 months? The one guy. That means that I still have trauma that I have never uncovered. So I had to go back in and do that trauma around that. What happened to me? It's crazy that here goes right back to the childhood trauma that you had. And of course, we normalized my trauma. Just because you get molested by the priest does not make you, don't you ever come back to this house and talk about the priest. How dare you talk about it? So I never spoke about it. It became normal. It became normalized. And again, with the trauma, that's what happens these days. And going back 30 years, before that was a little different. But we sit on them traumas and we do nothing with it. If you ever seen a deer getting hit by a car that doesn't die, as you hit it, it'll stop for a second on the ground and then it'll stand up after a few seconds. What it does next is miraculous. It will shake violently for 1 or 2 seconds and it runs on. What's that shaking about? That's the trauma. He shook it off and now he moves on. That deer may cross the same road at the same time tomorrow and get hit by the same car because he has no recollection of that because it was dealt with there on the spot. We don't do that. Now, there are certain techniques we teach our patients to do that. It deals with the trauma there and then. Because once we start stuffing that subconscious brain, when the prefrontal cortex says, give me an answer, because that's his job. Give me an answer right now to this problem. Give me a solution right now. It comes up with the solution rapidly in milliseconds. The only problem being it doesn't have to be the correct solution to that problem. And that's where we find the problem is most people living in fear, like an Alzheimer's patient that's just been told, or somebody with an illness just been told, we jump straight into fear. That means that everything that your prefrontal cortex shouts at is coming straight from the subconscious brain. When you get your ideas from the subconscious brain, you always want to be coming from the conscious for healing. You always need to be coming from the conscious brain to move forward in life and treat from the inside out, not the outside in. Pills doesn't always save us. You've got to do it from the inside.
I want to circle back to some of these techniques here in a moment, but you got me thinking of a question. You're talking about kind of the trauma, the anxiety, and all these things leading into how the brain is functioning. Do you think, and again, this is going to be purely speculative because I know you probably haven't done the research in it yet, but do you think it's possible that much of our dementia that we're seeing in our aging population is stemming from the anxiety that we feel, that we're being told that as you get older, these are the things that are going to happen to you. Dementia is inevitable. Maybe you had a family member who had dementia, and so you think, I have the genetics for this. It's inevitable. It's going to happen.
100%. We did a little research around that. We've done a few things around that, but when we're being told or treated by others, like families, like dementia in the family, well, one day you'll get it. Believe it or not. Well, that can't be true. It's true. It's what we tell each other, especially illnesses or anything pertaining to that, especially if it's in the family with genetics and epigenetics going on there, then there's likely you're going to get it. Whereas if you don't know your parents and they suffer from dementia, you probably never get dementia because you don't know your parents. So you don't linger on that. We went to a school back in the, 80s maybe 90s when I graduated. And he was a best friend of mine. There was a head teacher there, headmaster, which is like the principal over here. And we asked him, could we do a test research on the children? And he cleared it with the board. And people were excited because what we told them is we can pick the top 3 of your 9 to 11-year-olds that's going to change the world and be brilliant and all that stuff. And he said, that's impossible. And we said, can we try it? And he said, yeah, the board was excited. So we went in to the school the next day and handed out like 20 pupils, all between 8 and 9, 11, 12, I can't remember. They did the test. It was about 15, 20-minute test exam. We took all the papers round and we said to the headmaster, we'll be back tomorrow. So the next day we come back and we said, here, we've done all the testing, the research, we've done all the trial on this, we sat up all night doing this, and here's your top 3. Johnny? Yeah, Johnny Smith. Are you sure Johnny's kind of at the back of the class right now? Well, that's what he's telling us. And he's never wrong. We tried and tested loads of times. Then there's Jimmy, and there's whatever the other girl was. I can't remember, Sandy or something. So we told them the top 3 that are geniuses. We said, we'll be back in a year's time to monitor the results. And the idea is we couldn't have contact with him. So he was a friend of mine, but we couldn't have contact or definitely not talk about it. And then we went back a year to the day and the headmaster was waiting for us at the door. And as we're approaching, he's like, Rob, how did you know? I'm like, what? How did you know? We've got to call the government. We've got to do something. They said, absolutely. What? The test is where'd you get a test from? Test. He's coming to test all the time. And then we sat him down and we said, hey, how's our 3 pupils doing? Oh my God. I don't know how you did it. I mean, Johnny, brilliant. He's top of the class. How did you know? How did you know? And we said, well, we didn't know because when we left here, we threw all the papers away in the local trash and we picked 3 random numbers out, 3 random children out. And because we told you they were geniuses, so you treated them like geniuses, so they become geniuses. And that's kind of how the mind works. You'll pick up, if people treat us this way, we'll become that way. If people treat us as we're the next in line because of dementias that's touched everything, we're going to get that. 100% get it, where it's a way of changing around to make sure that we steer away and have less chance of getting that. Like I said, we're still in early stages, but it's proven to be true that if we're told often enough, we believe. No matter what it is, we believe it. And like I say, you come out of the doctors, you've been in there 3 minutes, your whole body's changed because it's give you some, like, my mum was told, Mrs. Kelly, we need to get you to chemo straight away. You have cancer, you have breast cancer. Then she says, no. She said, look, if you don't take it, you've got 4 months to live. That's what the doctor told her. She had the mastectomy the next month, but she won't take any radiation or anything, any chemotherapy. She says, no. Her basis was, I'd rather live 6 months quality life than 2 years in pain every day, because back in the day it used to make me so sick. She lived another 29 years after that guy, because you know what she kept saying to herself, Jeff? That's bullshit. He don't know what he's talking about. I've not got cancer. I don't know what he's talking about. And God's got me. They kept finishing this, and she staunchly believed that, and so she became.
Yeah, it's amazing what the brain can do.
And so we're just not aware of it. Or we don't want to be, because it sounds hocus pocus. It sounds like, surely if I think this and do that, 100%, man. 100%. So we cure stuff, you know? When you take a medication for psych, all bets are off. There are more black box medicines on the market now for psych than any other illness to the human body. And if you don't know what black box medicine is, guys, it's basically, in layman's terms, a company that's going to get sued in a few years' time for medication that's killing people.
So what specific techniques do you find most useful for dementia patients?
The breath box that we have is the 9D stuff. We find that, well, because we've done all three on them, it's hard to point out one. We do the 9D, we do the modulation units on the head and the stomach, and we do the subliminal messaging. They're the three that we've done all the time on dementia patients. Subliminal messaging is very powerful. It's a way of planting words and sentences and stuff like that in the patient's brain without them knowing. So we kind of play a little trick when they come on board. And I know it might sound silly to guys listening, but we research them. We research any patient that comes in. But if they're really bad, we research them. And you go on the Facebook, you just research like crazy on social media, and you find out that the guy coming in, or one of this woman who came in, a real patient, her and her husband was into the Dallas Cowboys because we're in Texas. And she was crazy over it. Season tickets. He traveled to Dallas it's just crazy every 2 weeks to watch them. They got halfway line seats. I don't know what that means, but that's what she keeps telling me. So when we have a bit of a big car park outside, when the car was parked, as she get out, we have a hedge outside, like a brush outside. And we stuck a Dallas Cowboys cup in there so that you could just see it, but you can't see it just near. So it was here, and the doorbell to get in, because it's a locked facility, was there. And so subliminally, she's seen it. When she comes in and sits in reception, the Dallas Cowboys are playing on the big screen. When the assistant comes out, or the therapist comes out to greet them, she's wearing a Dallas Cowboy wristband or something. Again, very subtle, that the brain's picking up on, especially the mind. So by the time she walks into the therapy sessions, her mind and her body is already free. That she's let her guard down. We have something in common. She feels at home. Now we can get to the subliminal brain, because if you subliminal mind, if you come in like you do to get therapy or whatever, you're all stiff, you've had a shower, you got your best clothes on, you're all there, you're defensive because you don't know what's going to come. By these techniques that we use, the defense is gone, because the familiarity between all three of us is like, wow. And then she'll come into my room and there'll be something Dallas Cowboys or Redskin, whatever it is. That's how we start the sessions off. So we put on the 9D, we have 52 programs for 52 different stuff. And then a red light, we have 32 programs. And basically it's medical grade red light therapy, which can change directions and heal and all that great stuff. And it's proven to be true. But we also have a waistband that they put on that's also flashing red light. So this flashes, the stomach thing flashes. And I got asked a couple of months ago, why the waistband? If it's in the head, why the waistband? And the answer is simple. 4 chemicals are needed every day to be happy. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphin. That everyone knows that. Most people know that. Most people don't know is the two big ones are serotonin and dopamine are created in the stomach. So we need to address the stomach as well as the head. So between them, two or three methods, that's where we're finding our results.
So you kind of talked about this subliminal messaging and your basic coaching approach. Do you modify it in any way for people who are suffering memory loss, confusion, or people with language difficulties?
We've not got that far yet. That will be our next avenue to go down. We still want to keep all the psych stuff we do. But I'm intrigued by this. My parents died of that. My wife's parents died of Alzheimer's. It's like, it's one of them illnesses that you get, or over a period of time, it increases, but nobody can cure it. So nobody's really interested in it. And that might sound harsh, but you get Alzheimer's, you watch your insurance company change that policy. Doctors will suggest this medication because it keeps the pharmaceutical companies rich, but what are they doing for you? And the thing is, there's not many people out there. There's probably a few thousand like me who's gone. And there's medical doctors that kind of probably do more research with the machines and stuff that they've got. But we found the same result is in America, unfortunately, to get somebody well is not profitable. If we can stick them on medication the rest of their life, we're good. Stick them in a treatment center, we're good. Stick them in a hospice, we're good. But do we actually go down and look at the disease and quality of life? We don't really around that because most doctors kind of give up. God bless them. They're not. Doctors not here to research. Medical doctors are to treat people, do no harm. And most medications help a lot, millions of people, which is good. So when you get down to the addiction, you get the depression, you get down to, the Alzheimer's, it's like nobody's gone down that route because right now it's not profitable. It's like depression. What the first thing we do, we run to the doctor and get some depressants. Depression in the medical dictionary of the USA says that depression equals lack of serotonin. Why aren't we asking why my serotonin is low before I go to the doctors? That's all we're saying to people. There are methods and ways and stuff we can take that enhance that. And once we start doing that, the body will heal a lot quicker than normal. Well, it never heals with depression. It just keeps you like the depression meds will just keep you on even keel. It's never going to be 10 out of 10 every day, but you're 7, I'm okay. I'm good. I can, why not 10? Why don't you have a great day every day like millions of people like us do? It's just not possible. Says who? That's learned behavior. That's limited beliefs that you've learned from your family and friends and teachers growing up. It's 100% possible. Well, I don't believe you. Well, good for you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to look at our stories and look at the life we lead today and millions of people who have been able to touch one by one over the years. It's like you either believe and you come on board and get well, or you don't. And I don't know what happens to you, but I have 11 birthdays left. And I keep going back to that to shock people. What? Do you know what I mean? If you're 60 years old, you have 15 birthdays left. It's not a lot of time. Why are you waiting? Why are you concentrating on this illness you've got when you can pull away from that shit? Live your life today as if it's your last day. I hate that saying. Well, let's look at it. So 3 parts of the brain reset every 24 hours. So yesterday doesn't matter, tomorrow's doesn't matter. Anxiety tomorrow, depression yesterday. We want to live in the past or future. I don't think I paid a mortgage, in December. What? But we do that as human beings because we're taught to do that. Wait till your father. Babies are born with 2 fears. The fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. The rest are man-made. If you don't do that, wait till your father gets home. If you don't pass it, it's all fear that we don't need. It's bullshit. And we have to pull away from that. We don't operate under fear. You get the guy at work, Monday morning, boss comes in. Jimmy, I need that report by Friday, 12 o'clock. Yeah, boss, I got it. Doesn't do it Monday, of course, loads of time. Tuesday and Wednesday's playing golf, forgets all about it. Thursday he comes back in, I'm going to do that report before I go home. Forgets about it, goes home. Friday morning he wakes up. Now he's really scared because if he doesn't get in, it could be a job. So he gets to work like 6 a.m. He frantically bashes away at his keyboard. He's sweating, he's drinking coffee. And at 5 minutes to 12, he presses send. And do you know what he tells himself? I work well under pressure. Nobody works well under pressure. If you don't believe me, when you hit 40, come and see me, you probably look 80. We do not work well under pressure. There's no reason for pressure. The pressure and the anxiety is the inability to manage one's day. That's all it is. If you would have done it in a planned routine program, which the brain and the mind loves, it thrives on that. Include oxygen to that in massive events in the morning, and you'll be the peak practice when you carry on and do the rest of the stuff and live life and find out who you really are. Our identity is taken away with marriages, with work, with, I become, blah, blah of this company. I'm the COO of, it's not you. The only thing you've got in common with the other people. They're my family. No one's your freaking family. Are you kidding me? They're not your family. You walk around for 8 hours a day on the same carpet. That's it. Stop getting validation from, you need validation from yourself. It's great to hear it, don't get me wrong, but all this stuff feeds in to a healthy life. The belief system, the family system, the childhood trauma, the behavior, who you hang around with today has a huge effect on you. If I hang around 9 depressed people, I'm going to become the 10. Oh, that's not possible. What research did we do? The research we did was how 9 people could change one in minutes, and how one person can't change 9 people. So it's important who we hang around. So we had 9 actors come into the reception waiting room, and their thing was to get $100, drink a cup of coffee, come in, sit down. Here's the instruction. And the instruction was every 45 seconds, a buzzer would go. When the buzzer goes, everybody stand up. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, sit back down again, as if it was normal. And the patient come in free of charge. We're going to do this. She's kind of a friend of ours, very excited. Thank you, Dr. Robb. She come in and she sat down. So there's 10 people in the waiting room that the scientific research was ready to go. And then I actor stood up and she's on her phone. And she looks at the phone. Everyone knows we have cameras in there. She looked at the phone and she went back to her phone. Everyone sat down. Everyone stood up. Now phone goes in her lap and she's looking around at this guy stood up. Everyone sits down. Third buzzer, which equals about 4 minutes. She stood up with it. She stood up with everybody else and she sat down with it, which we thought, I see that. Then we called the actors in as if they were patients one by one, and she was the only person left in the waiting room. And she stood up. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you because you feed on each other. If you ever have a friend that has a silly saying, if you hang around them long enough, you're going to say that saying and then kick yourself. Can't believe I said that. Well, it's learned behavior in the mirroring part of the brain that we thrive on. Unfortunately, when we're toddlers, that's when we learn the basics of who to trust and who not to trust. So mom says, don't put your hand on the fire or the hot stove. It'll burn you, and we do, and it burns us. So what does a child learn? Whatever mom tells me is the truth. I have to do what mom tells me. When we leave the house and grow up through school, that belief system stays with us, and what people tell us is the truth until we realize 9 out of 10 times it's not. So if the truth around you is 9 depressed people, you'll become the 10th.
I'm going to challenge you on having only 11 birthdays to go.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I'm living to 100. I'm never going to retire because let's face it, what is there retire from? Sat at a desk talking to people most of the day. It's like, yeah, I truly believe that. But
so you involve more than just the patient. I mean, you're big about bringing family into your therapy sessions and treatment of your patients. What role do caregivers play in this whole process? And how do you go about supporting them when you're working with dementia patients? And again, I know you're pretty young in terms of the therapy that you're doing, but how do you propose?
The therapy we do in Alzheimer's is the same therapy practically the same therapy we do in alcoholism. So let me run alcoholism, but I will find it's the same in dementia patients and Alzheimer's. When a patient comes on board who's suffering from alcoholism, when we insist, or he comes on 7 days a week, 1 hour a day, 90 days, done, get out of here, never want to see you again. It's a quick fix. We found out that the family systems in treatment centers and stuff like that is to bring the family in once a month and bash the alcoholic, bash the, dad, when you do this, you make us feel that. And we said to ourselves, that's not the way to do it. Especially me, I've heard all the bashing and tongue whippings all my life. So what we did is we insist that the wife or anybody over the age of 18 takes part in this, and they have to do 2 days a week with us, 1 hour a day, 2 hours a week, 8 hours a month. They have to do that. If they don't, we will not take on the patient. Because what we found is when they both do their work, because usually it's the wife, God bless them, they go, it's nothing to do with me. His problem, he better sort it out or I'm leaving. And we say, what about your PTSD? Oh, I don't suffer any trauma. Well, answer me this, Mrs. Smith. Why do you allow your husband to come home 2 or 3 nights a week and get into a fist fight with you in front of your children? And of course, the tears start. It's like both swim to your own rafts. That's how I explain it. And we'll pull you in together, all of you, into a safe place. So stats on that is when the family take place with their own work, with the husband who's doing his work, the success rate alone goes up by 42. That's one of the reasons we have a 98% success rate and a money back guarantee. It's like we've got this right, but you have to understand, and we're sure it's going to be the same with short-term memory loss, is when the family understand and do their work. Because as a caregiver, it's draining. As a caregiver, there's lots of trauma there just on its own. Stuff you're not supposed, looking after your parents, and there's some stuff you don't have to see. That the mind is like PTSD. That's what you get. I mean, and we did research on PTSD. We did research on caregivers and housewives or husbands in an alcoholic or dementia house. We tested their PTSD levels, and a soldier coming back from Afghanistan who's seen action, and the PTSD levels are just the same. So you don't know as a caregiver what you go through, but you're taking on a lot. It's affecting you in a terrible way. Your body and the mind and the brain are affected every single day by this. And you need to do your work around that. Otherwise, you're both going to go under. But we miss that out. Caregivers, I get paid for doing this. Everything's therapists and coaches and psychologists. Every time you see somebody on a regular basis, they take a piece of you away. If you don't replace that, see, with the 300 neural pathways dying every day, if I go home and take work home with me, then 300 neural pathways are not new ones, they're old ones. So then I start acting out old behavior. Well, if I'm acting out old behavior today, it's not old, it's current behavior. And when the current patterning and behavior takes over, you're right back to square one. And people don't think about that. We have, in Dallas, before we moved, we used to have Feel Good Fridays, where I would pay for all the staff and all the patients to go out, mix with each other, go and have your nails done, hair done, just go and do something amazing. There's like, I don't know, a couple of $1,000, go and do it. The success rate with the company alone went up by 11% just on that Feel Good Friday. It was insane because now they try to cram 5 days of work into 4 days. So now everyone's pushing the same way. And Friday's that relaxing day where we take care of ourselves. It's little things like that that we've done to research healing. It's all about, can you be a 10 out of 10 every day? Of course you can. Can you permanently heal from depression and stuff like? Of course you can. You can cure it. There's a cure. There's no cure for alcoholism because it's predisposition. We're born that way. But everything else, I truly believe when it comes to sight, we can cure.
So for someone who's just received that dementia diagnosis, what message would you want them to hear first?
I would say dialogue to the partner, or if you haven't got a partner, to family or something like that, sit down and talk about it. But try and be sensible, because when I tell you this, it might bring you a little bit more safer to the thought patterns around. The third leading cause of death in the USA is the medical protection. So when you hear that, you kind of have to rethink, okay, he's told me this, but is that true? He's had 10 minutes to tell me this. I've had a little research, I had an x-ray and I'll come up with this. It doesn't mean that can't be reversed. It doesn't mean at all. So there's always hope. Try not to get into fear. I know it's horrible when you receive that, but fear is not our best friend. Dialogue with somebody else, and then research somebody like Gary Brecker, who's one of my best friends. Research what he's up to. BRECKA is turning the world on its head right now. And a lot of people don't like it, about what we can take and what we can eat and what we can, to reverse Alzheimer's, to reverse, all these illnesses. So do your research into that. Stay positive, because there's always a way out of this. But if you get into fear and negativity and all that stuff and go down, start to get depressed, it's going to kill you quicker than you think it is. And I'd hate to see that happen. So find out the truth of what you're suffering from. What does Alzheimer's mean? Or just say loss of memory. What does it mean? It's like alcoholism is not about alcohol. Dementia is not about, you've got to look at what it means. What's happening in your brain that's caused you? Do you need to change your diet? Do you need to have complete sugar free? Do you need to take this? Do you need to get active? All of the above you need to do. Now, will it work in everyone? We don't know. We're not that far advanced. But the people that we have seen, we've changed their activities around. We keep them busy all day. We have like 69-year-old patient here who plays tennis on a regular basis. She never played tennis before in her life. New neural pathways, new activities, gets so excited, stops sit at home depressed, knowing she's going to die of Alzheimer's. All this stuff. It's just, it works, guys. Now, again, when it comes to anything to do with sight, we are the guys. When it comes to Alzheimer's dementia, we're early in, man. We're 3 or 4 months in. So what I'm saying is, following the research we've done and the results we have so far, is that there's always belief. There's always, misdiagnosis. There's always part this, and you fall into it, so it becomes full dementia. And it's got to be sensible, man. We have 2 people in my offices, my wife and another girl that she knows, and they take phone calls every day of parents or wives or husbands who's suffering. that they can get free advice. So you can always call. They're never going to charge, never going to convert you into patient. God bless you. We love you, but we don't want you unless you fully want to come here. But we don't do this for, please call this number. Come on, get an hour. We don't do it for that. If we can heal one person a day, Jeff, while we're doing this, our job is done. I believe in God just because of the spiritual experience. I never used to on the streets. It got me off the streets. And you know what? He's not going to ask me when I get to heaven. He's not going to ask me how much was that house you lived in. That car's ridiculous. How much was that car up? Not going to ask me that. He's going to ask me one thing. How many people did you help? That's all he's going to ask me, I believe. Not only do I want a big number, but it's the reason I get up every morning. Because I bless somebody monetarily every day. I know people can't do that. I'm blessed enough to do that, but I'd rather put a smile on their face and it's sit in the safe for another 12 months. And I compliment free people, and I'm always sending them subliminal messages. Everyone said it's the best place in the world to work. It probably isn't, but we make them feel that way. Therefore, the brain takes that on. I honestly have members of staff, especially when we're in Dallas, calling me up on a Sunday night saying, can they get in early? What time are you in? I need to get in. Move that into all kinds of psych illnesses. And you can get wow. Positivity thinking becomes, if you can visualize healing and you're taking the right stuff and you're active, 9 out of 10 times, it's probably going to happen. We tell every man over the age of 50 to lift weight. You've got to be lifting weights. I don't care what it is. I have 2 sets of dumbbells in my yard. I move around every day with these. I think I'm the healthiest and more active 64-year-old that I've ever seen. Because when I look at people my age, I go, do I look like that, Janet? You go, no, you don't look like that. For a homeless guy on the streets that died twice, it's not about transformation. But the reason why I do this today is to pass this transformation on and go, hey, it's not as gloom and doom out there as people led you to believe. You want to stop 60% of your problems and your anxiety in seconds? Turn the TV off. Stop watching the news. It doesn't really affect us. Think, well, such and such is in government, and calm down, will you? What have they done for you personally? Well, I don't get into politics. What has anybody knocked on my door from the government and given me $1 million check? No. What I realise is nobody's coming. It's up to me, So I don't get into that. I think they're all as bad as one another. Sorry, guys. It doesn't make a difference. Oh, well, the gas has gone up. Guys, at the end of the day, live your freaking life. Take the chances, Never not take a chance. You miss 100% of the goals that you don't take. 100% of penalty kicks you don't take. You miss them 100. Take them. What's the worst can happen? Well, I'm scared, Dr. Robb, in case I fail. Go and speak to J.K. Rowling. She failed more times than any other author. She was blatantly told several years ago to go home on the project, be a mom, stop being silly about this writing stuff because you'll never write a book in your life. Really?
What did she do?
I can't remember. It's really Potter. Is she a Potter?
Yeah.
Or pottery? I don't know. Something like that.
Yeah, I think I've heard of the Harry Potter stuff. Did they make some movies about that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, underground movies. Oh, no, they weren't. Well, $1 billion movie. Yeah, that's the one. So when you receive something off somebody, it doesn't make it true. When you receive bad news, it doesn't make it true. Just because you're offended by something does not make that offensive. It's you being offended by it. It's you being told bad news from your doctor. It doesn't make it true. What makes it true is your reaction to that news. You see, you can't hurt me or nobody can hurt me by calling me names or nothing unless I put my perspective on that. So if you call me an old fool, if I feel, oh yeah, I get upset what you say. But if I don't put my perspective on that, who gives a shit what you say? I don't care what you say about me. I've stopped that years ago. And that in its own healed a lot of stuff in my body. I'm just not caring. And it's really hard not to care. 9 out of 10 people, he said that I don't really care. Unfortunately, you do. It's human behavior and the way we hear things to the central nervous system and childhood trauma. The idea is to pull away from that and realize the truth. Always go to the source. Jimmy, he said to you, he said, this is about you, man. I think it's true. What's Johnny doing? Oh, he's moved back home with his parents. Why? His second marriage has failed. Does he see his kids? No. Where is it? Oh, he's in the spare bedroom of his mom's, and he's telling you stuff about me failing or something. First of all, why did he feel comfortable telling you? That's my first question to you, Jimmy. And secondly, why have you related to me? It's like everybody out there, guys, is jealous of what you've got, but nobody's jealous how we got here. And that's the problem with society today. See, back in my day, the keyboard warriors didn't exist. If you insulted someone, you got a smack in the mouth. Kind of heals a lot of them keyboard warriors. And I think that's a Mike Tyson thing. I think we should bring that back. With every bad comment, there should be an address and a phone number for that comment. And that'll sort the stuff out.
Yeah, we could just start complimenting people more. I keep reflecting back to the interview I did with you on, we have a spiritual problem podcast, and you talked about how you could change somebody's day in their life just by simply complimenting on their sneakers.
2 words, nice sneakers. That's it. Hey, God, I can't change the world. Yeah. Who's told you that? Who's put that there? We change the world every day. You know? Yeah, nice sneakers. That's all it takes, man.
I tried an experiment from that in the following term. I had all the students in my classes, before we started class, they had to turn to 2 people in the class and give them a compliment and then to receive a compliment.
Beautiful.
And it worked pretty well. I mean, they were a little bit apprehensive at first. And over time, I didn't have to really push it as much, but they were like, come on, let's just get into class. You don't have to keep telling us to do this every day. But you notice they would come in and they'd just start commenting on things.
Yeah. The guys that found that hard to do are guys that are still suffering from childhood trauma. Mm-hmm. Because we cannot accept a compliment because it was never validated or approved in the house we grew up in. My dad never says, well done. My dad would never, validate me for anything. I did some pretty cool things when I was a youngster because of that all or nothing brain. But yeah, it's the hardest 2 words in the world for alcoholics and addicts or depressed people. It's so hard. God, that's a nice shirt you've got on, Rob. Just something I bought. I've had it years. I just threw it on. Why is there a price tag on the back of the collar? It's like we'd never want to say thank you. I just bought this. Yes, thank you. That's all you got to say, but it's very hard to do. Once you get it, life's a lot easier, man. All these little things that make life easier. You have to go into hospital. You have to take these drugs. Says who? Who's challenging this status quo? Hello? And there's millions of me out there that are going, you know something? We're going to shout as hard as we can and as loud as we can for the biggest platforms that we can get on, whilst keeping our feet in the trenches and keeping our heads in the clouds. It's like we're not going away, And as we go through more and more people, I have a huge room to button in cards that people, thank you cards that people have sent us. Like if you do a few of the things that we've talked about today, it will make a change in your life. It's the smallest thing, If you get up in the morning and you do the same old things. I always put my left shoe on first when I'm getting dressed. Try putting your right shoe on first. That'll make it. Try putting your right shoe. Let me know how you go on.
I think you kind of answered my last question I had for you was what your take-home message would be for individuals and families who are confronted with a dementia diagnosis.
I think come together as a team, come together as a family, come together as, if it's friends you've got or whatever, come together as a team because you can't handle this on your own. When it's real early stages, like there's nothing really wrong with your memory, but it's going to completely deteriorate. But right there, if you come as a team, there's power in teams. There's power in people around you that are always lifting you up, are always validating you, and vice versa, is your change into this another person. Because at the end of the day, we want to be liked. We want to be loved by people. But we did some trials and tests in Hunt prison in Texas. They still, sentenced to death over here. And what we found over several years that most of the people that hit the chair or the needle was insane because of the isolation and no identity. In COVID, we took our identity off us and we isolated ourselves at home. It's the same with death row. Don't isolate. You heard any news. Don't keep it to yourself. I don't want to upset the family. Bullshit. It's not about you. About coming together as a team, working as a team, and God willing, you'll stay alive for a lot longer than you should. About doing stuff we're not supposed to do as human beings, pushing the boundaries, pushing the envelope, see how far you can. I was in a little office in Dallas when I started this. I kept pushing the envelope. Look where I am now, but I couldn't have done it on my own. I need these people around me to keep lifting and believing. Because it's very hard to believe that you're going to get well. It's very hard. I heard someone on the internet, and I'm going to quote somebody, and I very rarely do that. He said, you've only really got 2 things to worry. I'm like, what? Are you healthy? And if you're healthy right now, even if it's been diagnosed, but you're healthy right now, you got nothing to worry about. You got 2 things to worry about. Am I going to get better in the house, or am I going to get worse? If you're going to get better in the house, you got nothing to worry. If you're going to get worse, you got two choices to worry. Am I going to a hospital, or am I going to an insanity asylum? If you're going to insanity asylum and you're out the next day, you're going to have to worry about. If you're going to a hospital, you've got 2 things to worry about. Am I going to live or am I going to die? If you're going to live, you don't have to worry about. If you're going to die, you've got 2 choices. Do we go to heaven or do we go to hell? It's only 2 choices all the time, guys. That's all it is. Drop the fear. Drop the multiple choices that you need to take. There's only 2 and enjoy life. And you never know, or we never know how powerful the mind is. If you're determined to get well, if you're determined to restore short-term memories with the help of people like us, then it will happen. never seen it not happen in other psych illnesses and ailments that we've treated.
I don't know where else to go with this. I think we have just ended on a really high point, but I want to ask you, is there anything we've not talked about today that you wanted to make sure a message you get through to our viewers and listeners?
No, the only thing I would say is we've started a nonprofit, the Robb Kelly nonprofit.org. We're going to use that money for the Alzheimer's and dementia and stuff like that. We want to really try and back that up. So if you've got $1, stick it in there. If you haven't, let me know. I'll send you $1 or two. But yeah, just if you come across it, great. If you don't, just be well, guys. I'm sure we touched at least one person today who's going to change. And that's all I've wanted. Made my day. It's only 11:11 here, so I'm going to have a fantastic day because of this podcast, and especially you, Jeff. You're amazing.
I appreciate that. You're amazing too. I love having you on this podcast. I'm looking forward to having you back on. Let's kind of plan on getting you back on here down the road a little bit when you have a little bit more data on the work that you're doing, and we'll share that with our audience and keep promoting what you're doing. And I love what you're doing, and just keep shaking the box a little bit and keep aging well.
Thank you, man.
Thank you for listening. I hope you benefited from today's podcast. And until next time, keep aging well.